Morning and welcome to this episode of the Innings Break podcast. You find us on the morning after here in England as India have been demolished by 8 wickets by the Australians. 36 for 9 India made this morning, with the top scorer being 8. Rav, I believe you were saying that 4-0 was unrealistic and not going to happen in this test series. What's your thoughts now?
Good morning. Hope everyone is well. I'm doing perfectly fine. Thank you for asking. Yep. We also have Foothill here as well. And I still think 4-0 is well, I thought yesterday that India would win this test. I'm heartbroken, but I'm very disappointed. Very, very hurt that this team with so much individual talent, when put together, the sum of the parts is far less. And that is the exact opposite of what you want. This is disgraceful, bad mentality, horrific coach, poor leadership, and yeah, I'm pretty hurt right now. Mr. Foothill, what do you have to say?
Well, that was quite shocking, to be honest. I was able to watch the whole match, and I agree with you. I thought India were like in the box seat by stumps yesterday. Or was it a 62-run lead with 9 wickets in hand? I thought all they really had to do was get another 140 runs, even 150 runs, something like that today. And even if Australia came back into the game by bowling India out, but not many, with that lead that they had, I thought even 200 runs would have been a very difficult chase, possibly beyond the Australians. But to see them fold like that for 36, and that too, it wasn't even like the evening session or anything like that. You know, in a day-night test, you expect the evening session to be the time when you might see a collapse like that, but you certainly don't expect to see it in the morning. And I'm just lost for words.
Yeah, it is pathetic, really. I mean, it was happening. I wanted to get up in the morning. I got up at 6. I checked the scorecard and I went back to sleep. I was like, I don't want to watch this, dude. I don't want to watch this. But having reviewed the highlights, you have to say Australia bowled really well. They did bowl very well. A couple of deliveries, like the one that got Rahane, that having that delivery would have got any batsman at any point in the world out. It was just a beautiful delivery. What was he meant to do, right? But absolutely shocking. And to be honest with you, I was already disappointed with India coming into today because, first of all, Australia were like 100 for 5, right? They managed to get 90 runs for the last 5 wickets. They managed to get like 40 runs for the last wicket itself, or sorry, last couple of wickets. They literally had so many opportunities to put the foot on their throat and didn't do it. So many dropped catches. I'm starting to see what other people see when they see the Indian team. I'm starting to see what Angry Letters sees when he views the Indian team. And now it's pretty painful right now, and it's pretty disgraceful. The team selection is absolutely horrid. But before we get onto that, I'll let Letters have a little dance on our graves.
You're saying about the balls that Rahane received to get out. Crickviz have produced an image detailing quite how good the bowling to him was. So he scored 0 runs off his 4 balls. His first ball was 130 clicks. It swung in by 1.3 degrees, but it also seamed away for half a degree. So, it seemed off the pitch, away from him, then in duct. His second ball swung away by 0.7 of a degree and seamed away 1.2 degrees. So, a degree of swing is a booming in swinger or booming out swinger. So that ball's moved miles. Third ball swung in by 0.6, but it seemed away first by 1.1. So again, it's moved massively away before swinging miles in. And then the fourth ball was 139 kilometers, so getting up there for 90 miles per hour. It swung in by 1 degree, having moved away previously by 1.5 degrees. So yes, while the Indian batting was horrendous, someone like Rahane can, sit quite comfortably in that dressing room and say, "Well, I couldn't do anything about it."
He couldn't do
But
anything about it, but Kohli could have. He didn't need to play the
I was just getting on to
off drive. Yeah,
the
and then
the
Saha played a stupid shot. It's just idiotic given the situation that the team is in.
It's not truly idiotic to play a loose drive, which is what Kohli did, or to attempt to flick through mid-wicket. You want to see idiotic, you need to see footage of Brad Haddon at Cape Town 2011 in the 47 all-out game against South Africa. He charged down the wicket at Vernon Philander and tried to hit him for six, back passed over his head. Now that's idiotic. I think what Kohli did and what Saha did was try to put a little bit of pressure back on the Australian bowlers, try to put them off their lengths, try to make them change their line. With Kohli, the issue was that he'd just gotten four the previous ball. He didn't need to do it. With Saha, I wouldn't be, it wasn't a great shot, let's be honest, but it's not Brad Haddon at Cape Town bad.
Fair enough, but still, given the scenario where you have all the time in the world. I think today was day 3, right? Day 4, day 5 still to play, middle of the day, and 2.5 days worth of cricket left, and you just play those shots. I can't believe it.
You're reminiscent of when Stuart Broad obliterated the Australians back in 2015. Michael
Yes.
Clarke went for a similar booming off drive, almost a carbon copy of what Kohli did today. It seemed rather than a cool head to steady the innings. I get the point of trying to put pressure back on them, but India were 19 for 5 or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure there was much pressure. Even if he had smashed it away for 4, I think Josh Hazlewood would have run back in and bowled the same ball again.
idiotic. And I'm going to go back to an earlier point. India's fielding was truly tragic. Truly tragic. And these are a lot of these things. Like Mayank Agarwal is a great fielder. I think even Kohli, I don't know if Kohli dropped a catch, but like, there are some fantastic fielders in this team, but they just let opportunity after opportunity go. Labuschagne was dropped twice and he scored 47. Yeah, Saha. Yeah, Saha also. That was a tough opportunity, but still, he is only in the team because he's apparently the best wicketkeeper in the world and the best wicketkeeper that anyone has seen purely wicketkeeping for a very long time. But he's 36 years old, and yeah, it's just awful. But going even before that, going back to India's day 1, we had another collapse. Collapse after collapse after collapse. It is in the DNA of this team, and I don't know what it is. I feel like it's Kohli and Shastri's mindset where go at it, man. Just keep fighting. That kind of like show them who's boss. Whereas, sometimes that's an idiotic thing to do. I think it was 188 for 3, then Kohli went, then Rahane went, then Vihari went. Sad. But if you are a optimistic person from the Indian point of view, 2 days of very good cricket. 2 days of good cricket. That could have been excellent cricket. But this is just and yeah, I'm still this day will not be forgotten by any Indian fan and any rival fan who will remind us. I presume it'll be exactly the same as the English reminding the Aussies about Stuart Broad. This is going to live long in the memory,
I think this is
long in the
worse,
memory.
as this is the lowest Test score since 1955.
Yes, but then again,
Like it's even
for
more.
9.
It's even worse.
Even worse, yes, but like Shami is injured now, and he had to retire her for 9, right? That's another big blow. Shami, world-class bowler. What are we going to do? Next 3 tests, we don't have Shami. Sometimes you need to go through these lows to have significant changes. Now, I'm upset now, but I will be okay if changes are made to selection, to team management, and perhaps even the captaincy going forward. If no changes are made, then I will stop giving my love for this team because, yeah, change has to happen at this point.
I would like to go back to address a point that I think Lettuce made. He was speaking about, and I think Rab was making as well, something about how this is a day that will never be forgotten. A lot of teams have had days like that in the last 5 years. I was just having a look on Stats Guru while we started up, this podcast. And excluding minnows, so not counting Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Ireland, etc. In the last 4 years, since 2016 onwards, we've had 14 schools, not 18, 14 schools of 100 or less. I'll just rattle off some of the more notable ones. So England 58 all out against against New Zealand at Auckland. England 67 all out against Australia at Leeds. England 85 all out against Ireland of all teams at Lords. 77 all out again England against the Windies at Bridgetown. South Africa 73 all out against Sri Lanka at Galle. So on and so on. It's happened 14 times in the last 5 years. And when you compare that with which I did, I went back and compared the period from January 2000 to December 2015. Again, excluding minnows, and we only had 43 instances of teams being bowled out for less than 100 across the whole 15 years. So now, if you just do a bit of quick maths, in that 15-year period, we've got well under three such innings per year. Whereas in the last 4 years, we're well over four sub 100 innings being scored in the calendar year of Test cricket. So, is there something about the way that modern cricket is played that just makes teams more susceptible to this sort of batting performance?
I think a lot of it could be explained by England's collapses. I think that England will be represented there probably 3 or 4 times. Under Bayliss, it was not bat time. It's go hard at the ball, keep going. And given our horrendous selection until recently, we used to just keep going for the booming cover drive. And then India seemed to still be stuck in that mindset of, like Ralph was saying, have to attack. Whilst I know England are still definitely not the best team in the world, or if you look at the Kiwis or the Australians, they collapse a bit less now, largely because they're quite happy if they've lost an early wicket just to shut up shop and we'll bat 10 off 100 balls if required.
But another thing is that England now have a very good tail end, which adds a lot of runs. And so do Australia, and probably so do the Kiwis.
The Kiwis have got Carl Jameson at 8, 9, and he's averaging 50.
Well, there you go, right? And then India have Saha. I don't know. He's not a test batsman. No matter what you want to say, he averages 30, but that's probably all of his runs are probably come at home. Ashwin, fair enough. Ashwin can bat, and he has batted well in the past. I think he is justified all-rounder. But then you have Shami, Yadav, and Bumrah. They will not add 10 runs between them the majority of the time, right? It's just not good enough. Whereas Australia have Pat Cummins, who can bat, Mitchell Stark, who can bat. They also have the all-rounder Green, which can bat. Like, there is some serious fight in those tails, right? So the tails will
And
always
Nathan Lyon can hold
contribute. Yeah, Nathan
even
Lyon
Nathan Lyon can hold a bat.
Even Nathan Lyon
Josh
can hold a
Hazelwood's
bat.
an 11, but
Yeah.
he's still turned up occasionally.
The thing with Hazelwood and Lyon is that they actually work hard on their batting. They spend part of their training, their whatever they do every day. They'll turn up, do their fitness training, do some strength work in the gym, bowl their 15 overs at the nets or whatever. But at the end of the day, they will spend half an hour just getting throwdowns or facing another bowler in the nets and just working on their batting. They work at it. And that's why, even though Hazelwood and Lyon are probably the weakest batsmen in that Australian lower order, they both average double figures and they both actually played reasonably well last night. So I think Lyon got to about 10, hit a brilliant pull shot off, I think it was Ashwin. When Ashwin bowled him a long hop, he made him pay. He put that away for four. And so did Hazelwood, actually, also against Ashwin. He played a couple of lovely one drives. One of them was all along the ground. It was like I was watching Sachin Tendulkar bat. But I just think with the Indian bowlers, so as you mentioned, Umesh Yadav, Ishant, Bumrah, and Shami, they just probably don't apply themselves in training with spend half an hour a day or 1 hour a day just working on your batting side of your technique in the nets or getting throwdowns from the coach or anything like that. It all helps.
I know Nathan Lyon employs his brother as his own personal batting coach. Kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just don't know. I also think, like, This is a thing we should talk about in a bit of detail here, is that, first of all, the team selection was just wrong. It was wrong in so many ways. You have Rishabh Pant, who's literally hit 100 not out in the practice game days before this match, where he was the wicketkeeper during that match, and he's not playing. Why? Idiotic decision making. Then you have Shubman Gill, who had a reasonably good IPL, has been consistent in form, looked incredible in the practice game. If you've not seen the highlights of how well he played, it was majestic. And then you play Prithvi Shaw, who can't buy a run instead of him. Plus, not playing Hardik Pandya or Jadeja when you have such a weak tail is truly, truly mind-boggling for me.
I don't think Hardik can play because he's not bowling. He's bowling very. He bowled a couple of overs or something in the one-day series, and Kohli has said that if Hardik isn't a genuine all-rounder, we can't have him in the team. And fair enough, because you've got 6 proper batsmen in that top 6 plus a wicketkeeper, whoever that may be. But you've got 6 proper batsmen, and Hardik is a skillful batsman, but I don't think he gets into the Indian top 6 just by merit of batting alone.
Fair enough, but Jadeja should be playing then. Instead of Vihari, she should be in that team. There is no question of a doubt that Jadeja, especially given the form that Jadeja is in, he should be playing. He's feeling himself right now.
Yeah, that's a good shout about Jadeja. If you want him in, that's the only thing though. If you want him in at 6 or even number 7, it's a little bit like he's a good lower order player, like equivalent to Ashwin or Cummins or Stark, or maybe even slightly better than them. But is he a top 6 batsman? That's the question. Obviously he brings a lot to the team with his bowling as well. But do you really want to pick 5 bowlers after you've been bowled out 36? Surely it's your batting that needs to be shored up.
Kohli's not in the rest of the series, so in the future, I think Gill for Kohli, but then you still have Prithvi Shaw up there, so maybe Rishabh Pant comes in as well, and then Gill opens with Agarwal, and then Rishabh Pant replaces Saha. I would just feel so much more comfortable having Jadeja there because he will contribute at some point in the game. Like, he's guaranteed a minimum contribution to the game. He won't have nothing. If he's not good with the bat, he'll bowl some important overs. If he's not good with the ball, he'll probably score a few runs, or he'll do some incredible fielding. Like, he will add value. It will just feel a lot more shored up than having. When you play Riddhaman Saha, you don't expect him to score runs. That is one position where you've just already forfeited. I don't understand the mindset of, okay, and plus Bant played really, really well in the last series of Australia. So I don't know. I just feel like the whole team selection is wrong. I just don't like the decision-making process for the team selection, which is not logical. If there was like some rhyme or reasoning behind the team selection, fair enough. But if it's going on recent form, it's incorrect. If it's going on potential, it's incorrect. If it's going on past performances overseas, it is incorrect. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's really, really shocking. And I think Kohli and Shastri enable each other. They both do idiotic things and they praise each other for being mavericks. That is so dangerous, as it is in any organization. You have two people who just bulldoze their way through and just go on pure emotion and no rationale. And as a result of that, you get terrible decisions, like going back a couple of years, dropping Rahane from the South African series. And I don't know. Yeah, it is truly shocking. And now if Shami is injured, I don't know who's going to play. I hope it's not Mohammad Siraj. I don't think he's good enough to be an international bowler, but international test bowler, yeah. There is some serious problems right now with the Indian cricket team.
Now shift our focus briefly to Australia. I guess there's a lot less to talk about with Australia and their potential team selection issues. David Warner will be coming back for his second test. So I guess the question for Australia as regards selection just becomes which of Wade or Burns do you drop to let Warner come back in. And
Or you could
I know
drop
Burns
Green.
didn't look fantastic, but I would be dropping Wade because he's not like qualified opener. He's just he was sort of makeshift, promoted up the order, and he did just as well as Burns pretty much. But um, Burns gets a few more. He has to get a few more tests just because there's no one else. So I think with regards to Australia's team selection, the opening position is definitely where the weakness is. Nathan Lyon also didn't have a brilliant game, especially compared to how well Ashwin bowled. Like as a spinner, you could have done better than.
He bowled well, Foothill. Did you see how much trouble he caused Pujara in the first innings? Like he bowled really well. I don't think dropping Lyon is an option. Full stop. I think even the Australian team know that he caused a lot more problems than he should have.
Yeah. No, Lyon's one of the undroppables, so he would only be dropped like in case they want to pick an extra fast bowler. So go with an all pace attack, or something like that. Which that's depending on like conditions. They've done it once or twice in the past, like for WACA tests, but I don't think we will be playing at the WACA this summer. Even if like the Sydney test gets cancelled and the test is moved to Perth, it'll be at the new stadium, Optus Stadium, and not at the WACA. Only the small off-brand teams like Sri Lanka, I have to admit, and West Indies will ever play tests at the WACA again.
What is the reasoning behind that? Just out of curiosity, like why why the stadium selection of the Optus over the WACA, or the WACA over the Optus? Like, surely if you move to the new stadium, then you would stick to it and kind of let go of the old one. Why would they play on the play at the WACA again?
Well, I'm not sure that they will. It's just as a lover of cricket, I sincerely hope that they do. Just because the WACA is like one of the most legendary venues in the history of Test cricket. And to go with that, what's really good about the WACA is that it doesn't have a drop-in pitch, which Adelaide does, the MCG does, uh, Optus does, and that's if you take Perth as well, that's the majority of grounds in Australia. I think the Gabba has to move to a drop-in wicket as well. So it's only the SCG now that sort of resists the pressure from the AFL to let them run rampant over over the ground and force them to grow the pitches elsewhere. Um, but as regards to why they do play games at Optus now, it's just because the capacity is like 60,000, whereas the capacity of the WACA is only 20,000. So you can make theoretically triple the money from the gate takings, and also it's a much more comfortable experience for the spectators. The WACA is a bit like the San Siro in Milan, that famous football stadium. It's run down. The toilets disgusting. There's no protection from the weather, which Perth gets very hot as well. It's just not a pleasant place to go if you're a fan. But it's just like the San Siro, it's a legendary stadium. And as a lover of the sport, you're sad to see that go.
Yeah, I understand. I do feel like this victory for Australia does brush under the carpet some issues they had during this test, right? They did not play well for the first 2 days. Well, the batsmen played poorly, right? Even the bowling wasn't as good as I thought it would be on the first day, but obviously the bowling made up for itself in the latter part of the test match. I still feel like Australia could have played better, and had they lost, it's obviously they didn't lose, but there would have been some serious questions and some serious internal inquiries about how the team is performing batting wise. I still feel that there's room for change. I'm not really threatened by the two openers. I know Warner's going to come back. I'm not threatened by Travis Head. I am also not threatened by Labuschagne. I say this knowing that I probably will eat my words. And obviously Smith had a bad game. Feel like Australia weren't perfect either, and they've been spared some blushes. They got outplayed for 2 days. They just had an amazing session, which changed everything, right? I think Josh Hazelwood bowled the best bowling that he's ever bowled in his life, and India played horrifically. And yeah, I'm not too convinced about Australia being at the peak of their powers with their batting, to be honest.
There's an interesting stat that Steve Smith averages 120 against England in the last 4 years, but 30, I think it's 32 against all other nations.
He batters the minnows, I see. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, yeah, basically, yeah. But yeah, I think the change will either be Matty Wade being dropped out of the squad, which I think would be harsh given that he was asked to open, And to be honest, him and Burns probably would have finished it off as a 10-wicket victory until that freak run out by Saha. So you could either drop Matty Wade or you could drop the debutant Cam Green, which would be again harsh just after your debut. But at the same time, has Matt Wade done enough to be dropped? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Australia are looking for an opener to partner David Warner. It's simple as that. It could have been Pekovsky until he got the concussion injury. It could have been Joe Burns as well. So that was sort of like the debate: who's going to go with Warner? And then Warner gets himself injured, right? So did Pekovsky. So then the debate became: do we have Joe Burns or do we give Matthew Wade a chance at opening the batting? Which he's never done before in first-class cricket, I don't think. He's opened a little bit in like ODIs, but years and years ago, and obviously that's not the same thing. But as regards dropping Wade, it's just a logical choice, right? It's harsh, but he's a makeshift opener. Joe Burns is a proper opener, and that's going to make a slight difference, even if he's in horrible form. He might get some runs with Warner, whereas with Matthew Wade, you're just going to see a non-specialist opener who's not.
Oh no,
involved
I'm
in
saying
any
if you drop Cam Green, Matt Wade could go back to 6.
Yeah, and Wade did do well at number 6. He got a couple of hundreds in that Ashes series. He was probably Australia's best batsman after Smith and Labuschagne. But it's harsh to drop a debutant, right? And especially the thing with Cameron Green is he's got so much hype because he's 2 meters tall. He bowls at 140 plus. He's got a he's got a first class batting average of like 55 or something. Australia really want to find an answer to Ben Stokes, to Andrew Flintoff. They hate losing at the hands of English all-rounders for a long time now. And whenever it happens, it's always sort of like a bit of soul searching for where do we get our own Flintoff from? That was Shane Watson. It was probably not. He was an okay cricketer, but not brilliant. And then with Stokes, there has been no answer. Mitchell Marsh has been tried. Marcus Stoinis has been tried in ODIs, and they've just not had the same impact that Stokes does in all formats. So that's the reason I think Green will get a bit of a long rope. It's because he satisfies the fantasy of Australian cricket, and until the performances get really bad from him, that fantasy image won't be shattered. They're too seduced by losing to Flintoff and Stokes, but they want to find their own.
Yeah, I think everyone in the world is after Ben Stokes, right? It just makes the balance of the squad so much easier. Everything is just just a game changer, right? So I see that point of view. Plus, is Green young for Till? Because
Yeah, 21.
yeah, Wade is like 35 or something. Wade is a really, really old guy, right? So he's had his opportunity. There's not much in the future left for Matty Wade, I think, at Test cricket.
He's 32.
Maybe.
32.
Okay. Well, I take it back then. There's a good 4 or 5 years left. And he's still not as young as Mr. Green. So
I think Wade's role in the squad, like you've got to look at it as a squad, sort of like a football thing. He's a good backup middle order batsman. Well, he's not good. He's competent. He's a competent backup batsman. So if there's an injury to someone, he can come in and put in a shift. Sort of like geez, I can't think of any squad players right now in football. It goes to show how little I've been following the sport. Someone like a Park Ji-sung going back many years in Manchester United history. There's someone to come in and you can expect a reliable shift from him, but he's not necessarily a sort of core starting member of the 11. That's why Green is going to retain his place as well.
a fun fact: Matthew Wade's birthday is in a week. So happy birthday, Matthew Wade! If you're listening to this podcast, congratulations on turning 33 years old. Yeah, Matthew Wade does his job exactly as expected. From the Indian point of view, I would like to see the 3 changes which I mentioned. So Shaw dropped, Gill in, Saha dropped, Punt in, and then replace Vihari with Jadeja. I feel like that's so much stronger. Plus, there will be probably an enforced change with Mohammad Shami out. I don't know who they bring in. I don't even know. I think Mohammad Siraj is next on the list. I don't want him to play. I don't think he's good
You've
enough.
forgotten Kohli.
I really don't think.
So you've forgotten Kohli. Who comes in for him?
Oh my god, yeah. I don't know, dude. There's too many. Okay, then.
Do you bring Jadeja in for Kohli, and then you bat deep?
Bat deep. I don't know.
Everyone else shifts up one.
And then the option would be to play Vihari as an opener. So you get Vihari and Agarwal to open, then swap Kohli for Gill. So play Gill at number 4, Pujara. So it would be Vihari Agarwal, Pujara, Gill, I don't know, Rahane, then Punt, Jadeja, and then you have the 4 bowlers, which would be Ashwin, Bumrah. Well, so Shami's not going to be there, right? Bumrah, Yadav, and
We don't know for sure,
Siraj.
do we?
He's fractured his hand, I think. I'm pretty sure. I think he's out for. He could be out for the remainder, which is a shame because he is genuinely one of the top 5 pace bowlers in the world. And no, I don't think many people could deny he's a fantastic bowler, especially in the past few years. And now with Ishant Sharma injured, now Ishant Sharma over the past couple of years has been phenomenal as well. India have got a lot of injury woes at the moment, especially with losing Kohli. So I suppose for Australia, this is probably like the revenge for 2018 when they were out without Warner and Smith. This time Kohli and a lot of tried and tested players are not going to be there. I don't know if Bhuvaneshwar Kumar is in the squad, but I would personally play him because he adds a lot to the tail as well. He's a very good all-round cricketer, but I don't know if he's there or not. But yeah, shocking scenes today, dude. I will be happy if changes are made because of this, but knowing how things are run, I don't think changes will be made. I don't know who is responsible for firing the coach. If it is Saurav Ganguly, I really hope he grows a pair of balls and tells Shastri to fuck off, basically. No, that's how I feel, dude, because he's brought nothing good to this team at all. He's just brought arrogance and brutality, which sometimes works, but sometimes just makes you look stupid, as it does today. I think it's time for Rahul Dravid to become the coach, or perhaps I don't know, go for a foreign coach. I know Tom Moody's been wanting the job since like many years. I just think it's time for a change. Shastri is not the person to lead this forward, just because he's like having a circle jerk with Kohli. They're just both jerking each other off all the time. Like one of them says one thing, I said, "That's a great idea, man," and the other one says, "Oh my god, you guys, you're like a massive innovator," and they just keep on producing the worst, the dumbest outcomes for Indian cricket. It's really upsetting.
You don't want to change just the head coach. That's very much like cosmetic, I think. Shastri is not someone who I would expect gets very involved in technical coaching. He's not out there teaching the players how to bat, how to bowl, how to field. He's there for the booze and for the team talks. He's very much like a Sir Alex Ferguson type, more a CEO or a manager than like
He sets the culture.
Than a coach.
He sets
So
the
you want to
culture.
get rid of
No,
the
I think-
backroom stuff. That's where the problem is. The fielding coach has got to be sacked because the fielding this whole tour. Now I was at Canberra for one of the ODIs, which you guys might know. There was some dropped catches too throughout this tour. The fielding has been appalling across all formats. The batting, like I said earlier, in this episode, why are the bowlers never working on batting technique? Spend half an hour at the nets every training session. That's the batting coach's fault as well. He needs to be, whoever the batting coach is, they need to ensure that all the bowlers are like just as committed to working on their batting as the proper batsmen are. So for me, it's not just Ravi Shastri. It's got to be the whole
the
whole
batting
backroom
coach.
stuff has got to be cleared out.
Yeah, the batting coach has got to have a word, surely, with Shaw. I don't know whether you've seen his dismissal. Was it yesterday? His bat is pointing to point at head height just before impact of the ball. His backlift is mad.
I feel bad for Prithvi Shaw because when he came to Australia last time, right, he was picked to be the opener there, and he was in some incredible form. And I was really excited for his future because he had so much potential. But then he got injured, and then he got dropped out of the team, and then he took some cough syrup or something when basically he was out. I just think his whole confidence is derailed. It's just completely derailed. And I hope he'll come back from it because he's still very young. I think he's 20 or 21 years old. He will fight back. But I don't think this tour is the time to blood him into the team properly. Because
going against the world #1 team is probably not where to learn your batting technique and regain confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Now is not the time for this. And maybe it's time for KL Rahul to come back in. I wouldn't mind that, even though he's had plenty of opportunity. I just see Rahul, I see one of the best batsmen, the most elegant batsman I've ever seen, who makes some dumb decisions at times and gets out easily. But he is in my eyes probably one of the best limited over batsmen in the world. And I'm sure once it clicks for him, he will make it count. But yeah, troubling times. Change needs to happen. From an Indian fan, I'm very disappointed in my team. I'm very disappointed in my captain for setting this kind of mindset. Horrified by the coaching. I agree with Foothill. Some of the coaching staff needs to go. I think the bowling coach does a great job, to be fair. He's transformed Bumrah and Shami into some world-class bowlers. But yeah, the batting coach needs to have a real hard look at himself. The fielding coach, I don't know. I don't know about the fielding coach because I feel like when it comes to like split decision moments, like when they don't think about it, India is capable of pulling off some fabulous catches. But when it comes to the basic catches, I don't even know if that's a coaching thing. I think that's a mindset thing. I don't know. Everyone has dropped a dolly in their life, right? But having it happen this consistently, I don't think it's something to do with technique. From my personal cricket, I don't think it is something to do with it. I think it's more about mindset. So that's why I feel like Shastri has to go. Now, if this collapse results in change, then today will be remembered, but it'll be remembered as a catalyst for change. But knowing how Indian cricket works, I don't think anything is going to change anytime soon. And I really hope it does, but it won't. And it's just very disappointing. A disappointed Rav today. To the joy of Mr. Lettuce, I'm sure.
Don't know what you're talking about. Before we wrap up, Footill, maybe a quick word on Tim Payne. It's a great performance, wasn't it, by the Australian captain?
Oh yeah, of course. He was like the only batsman on both sides who, apart from Ashwin, I guess, and Mitch Stark for brief periods, they only made 15 each, I think. But those three were basically the most fluent, confident looking batsmen in the whole match. Even though Kohli made 74, Pujara made first innings runs, so did Rahane. They never looked in on that wicket. It was like they scratched out their runs just by sheer willpower. It didn't look like they'd mastered the conditions like Tim Payne did, and like even Stark and Ashwin did, all very briefly in their cases. So yeah, he just hit a lot. He hit a lot of lovely shots. There was a daring reverse sweep, I think, that went for full. Imagine playing a reverse sweep on this type of. So yeah,
I couldn't
a
believe
fantastic
Tim Payne cracking out
performance.
the reverse sweep. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah, he caught very well as well. I think 7 dismissals in the match. His captaincy was great as well. So yeah, Tim Payne gets full marks to me. Although I don't think he should have been man of the match. Honestly, that's a bit patriarchy. Surely it should have been one of the bowlers for bowling India up at 36. That's where the match was won. Not with the batting.
Hazelwood. There's like no question of a doubt, right? Has to be Hazelwood.
Well, I agree to some point, but if Tim Payne doesn't make that 75, this morning doesn't happen because the Indians would have been 150 ahead. So, even if they had collapsed, Australia still would have had to chase best part of 200.
I mean, he was dropped. I don't know. I mean, he played well, but he was dropped like 40 something.
The scorecard don't lie.
Oh, fair enough. It's just, I think Australia can be proud of themselves. There's still some hiccups, like I said earlier, but yeah, Tim Payne is leading well. He's standing up to the occasion, right?
Yeah.
That's something which the Indian players can learn from. He's performing above his potential in an environment that needs him, as opposed to the Indian players are performing below their potential in an environment that puts pressure on them. They just don't perform well under pressure. We are now chokers. I hate to say it, but yeah.
Right. Has anyone else got anything else to add?
Maybe we could talk about the coronavirus series, which is what I'm going to call Sri Lanka's test match tour of South Africa that's coming up. I can't believe that's going ahead. Like it seems to be. All the news that I'm seeing indicates that that series is going to happen, which is just unbelievable because there's 10 South African domestic cricketers who have in the last few days come down with COVID. Two members of the full test squad who were in the bubble have come down with COVID. And what was happening with the English tour, Letters? Wasn't there some problem with
So
the actual South African squad in bubble catching the COVID?
there were two possible positives in the England camp, but they turned out to be negative. But then several people in the hotel staff were testing positive. The bubble was breached at least twice by England, if you believe the South Africans, or South Africa didn't really have a bubble, if you listen to the English. I think there were 3 days in a row that was meant to be the first ODI, and each day within an hour of the supposed start got cancelled because someone had tested positive. And in the end, the ECB pulled the plug on it because it was just, I think they said that mental health of players was starting to suffer because, so many false starts, people were starting to become positive. The bubble seemed to be in complete shambles. So yeah, I'm surprised that South Africa is hosting any cricket, given that this CSA is in full-blown disaster mode.
You were saying there's a bit of a sort of controversy about who was responsible for the bubble being breached, whether it was poor organization by CSA or if it was violation of the protocols by the England players and staff. I would be inclined to say that there's something CSA are doing wrong because England have gone home now for what? It's been more than a week since they left, and there's still
Two
more
2 weeks.
cases piling up within that South African squad and within their domestic system. So there's something wrong with how South Africa are managing the situation. And in light of that, I think it's very irresponsible by the SLC to send a touring squad there. They're putting them at risk of getting sick.
Yeah, I'm generally shocked that they're sending anyone. Whilst England did an entire county season and 0 positives, I think. Or I think there were some positives, but it was very much isolated because I know David Willey, the England bowler, tested positive towards the end of the season. It was contained whilst CSA seems to be inside the bubble, which quite how you're getting COVID into a bubble that's meant to be, a bubble. Is kind of shocking, and then their domestic season's in complete tatters at the minute. So yeah, I can't believe the Sri Lankan board thinks that's a acceptable thing to do as well.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Not just the county season. There's been a lot of cricket actually played in the last 6 months. A lot of, I get domestic cricket, but there's been the IPL, which I don't think there was many positives to come out of it, if any.
0.
There's been short shield cricket in Australia, the BBL as well now. I don't think there's been many, if any, positives coming out of there. The
PL.
Lanka Premier League was
Yeah.
recently played. That was a short competition, but I don't think, again, there was no positives during the competition. There was a little bit of controversy with, I think, Afridi testing positive in Pakistan before he flew out and then testing negative, and then he came out and joined the competition. But as far as I know, it's only South Africa that's been a bit of a shambles with the whole COVID situation. All the other boards that have held competitions seem to have been able to do it fairly well.
Yeah, I am surprised. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the Sri Lankan tour. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes much the way of the England tour and falls apart. Rav, any last points? Any last rant?
I'm in pain, but it's okay. It's okay, dude. I'm used to it being an Indian fan now. It's okay. I'm gonna go cry in silence. But thanks for listening. Have a good day, guys, and hopefully you're happy the podcast is back. Thank you very much to a very enthusiastic Mr. Angry Letters who woke up and said, "Let's record straight away today," because he's a very happy man, and Mr. Foothill for his wonderful insight as well. It's been a pleasure. This is the Innings Break podcast. And Ravi Shastri, please resign. Thank you and goodbye.